Hi, my name is Erica Thibodeau, and I have a hobby, whaleboat rowing, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about it today. I will start by telling you a brief history of whaleboat or the whaling industry and where whaleboats originate from. Next, I'd like to tell you just what it's like to be out on the water and row a whaleboat. And then finally, I will tell you not just about our rower's position, but the seventh person which we need on a whaleboat, the boat steerer or coxswain, and a little bit about the commands that they must give us, what the commands are, and why it's important to know these commands. A little bit about the history to start with. The whaling industry was flourishing in the early to mid 1800s. It was really big in New Bedford and Nantucket and all of New England. There were other countries besides the United States, though, Portugal and various others. This was an industry that was a real tough industry to work for. The boats, the whale ships, would go out 3 to 4 years. And so, if the big joke is, if you were trying to get away from the law or your wife, it would be great for the men and boys of that time. They would be gone a long time, and it was hard work then. And they would retire early, too, because it paid so well. We no longer whale anymore. You probably know that. But we do have boats that are replicas of these whaleboats, and that's where the hobby or sport comes in. So what is it like to row a whaleboat? It's hard work, but we go out just an hour a week. It's recreational, it's fun, it's relaxing. It's not so much about the strength of each stroke as it is about working as a team and using your oars in a timely manner so that you smoothly and quickly can move the boat over the ocean regardless of the circumstances. Sometimes it's choppy and it's a little harder than others. It's really enjoyable though. You basically get there, and to start off you climb down the ladder onto the floating dock. Not too long of a climb, so it's not that bad. Then once you get down there, you have to get onto the boat, and then you have to untie the main. Just so you know, these boats are not just able to row, but they often have a large mast in the middle of the boat because they also can turn into sailboats. It's one of the amazing advantages of rowing a whaleboat. You can also learn how to sail if you're interested. Now, you have to get into the boat very carefully, keeping your body low to the ground so as to shift your weight nice and slow. And then position your rowers, 3 on the port side, which is the left side, 3 on the starboard side, which is the right side, when facing the bow, of course. And then you have your boat steerer or coxswain. And all of you get into the boat, you untie the boat, and and basically you just want to use your paddles to get out into the open water to, depending on the tide, whether it's high or low, get into a clear area so that you can pull these long, large oars out. The oars are 16 to 18 feet long, very heavy. These are heavy wooden boats and heavy wooden oars. Each person has 1 oar that you're responsible for. You can barely wrap your hands around it. We tend to wear gloves and life jackets sometimes. Now, the boat steerer has a very important job. He or she is responsible for safety of all of our rowers. She or he is also responsible for commands. There are various commands that we use. We use old whaling commands. For instance, when the boat steerer first guides us out with the paddles and we put our oar locks in, next step is to get our large oars out and into place. Each oar sits in an oar lock, and each spot on the boat has a corresponding oar. There are 6 numbers, therefore there are stripes at the bottom of the oar, which is the paddle. And if there are 6 stripes, that's oar number 6, and that goes in the number 6 oar lock, and so on. So sometimes it's a task getting all of these oars out and without hitting any buoys or any boats that are docked there in the harbor. And then once we get out into the open water, the boat steerer gives commands such as ready, all, and that's when we get in our start rowing position, where we are leaned all the way forward with our arms stretched all the way out in front of us, and we have the oar, and then we have to pull the oar back, and you sit all the way back. And it's a great exercise for your abs and your core and your arms, triceps, your back. I guess the only thing you really don't work much is your legs, but even they get sore too. So some other terminology are pull together all, and that's when we're pulling water. Or push together all, that's when we're pushing water to go the opposite way. Another term is hold water. The boat steerer or coxswain will tell us to hold water when they want to stop the boat. So simply you're just putting your paddles so that they are in the water and you're just fighting the waves. That can be a little harder than it sounds. There are other terms such as shorten your oars, and that would be if there's a buoy coming to the port or starboard side. Again, these oars are long, so you'd have to pull in the oar. Another term would be catching a crab. This is the scariest part of being a new rower, and still scary as an experienced rower. Generally, you keep your oars so that your paddles are perpendicular to the water. This is important, and you need to row so that you are sort of putting your oars in an elliptical motion, not too large of a circle, and not too far into the water, but not too far out of the water. Sometimes, if you don't have the proper stroke, or if it's a day with a lot of waves, you might do something called catching a crab. First time it happens, it really knocks you off your seat. It's when you maybe don't have your oars squared enough or perpendicular enough into the water, and the wave just catches your oar and it literally pushes you off your seat. The important thing to know here, it's as simple as just pushing down on the handle of your oar so that it lifts the paddle out of the water. But the first time it happens, and again, the future times it will happen to you again, it really scares you. It makes you think maybe you should wear a mouthpiece when you're rowing these boats. But anyhow, we always end our day by getting the boats back into and tying them up into the pier and at the dock. And then we have to go out for drinks, of course, because this is a social get-together, and we just can't end it there. So I suppose you could say any calories that we burn, we tend to put back on. But it's a really great time, and if you ever want to try it, I can give you some information on it. Just let me know. Thank you for listening, and I hope that someday you'd like to try to be a whaleboat rower. Bye-bye.